Alright, time to make my Backrooms review and whoop! Whew! Whoa! Oh no. Greetings my fancy friends, welcome back to the channel, and today I'm going to be talking about Backrooms, directed by Kane Parsons, and this was one of my most anticipated films of the year for many reasons. So if you aren't familiar with the origins of the Backrooms, it was originally this 4chan internet mystery about how there were parts of our world that you could sink through and get into a secret dimension, I think. Yeah, the lore for the Backrooms is kind of confusing, but that's my interpretation of it. And one of the most popular parts about the Backrooms were the YouTube videos made by Kane Pixels, or Kane Parsons, the director of the Backrooms movie. You see, he made these incredible YouTube videos with just using Blender, and yet they look so realistic. I mean, look at these videos. You would think that they were just found footage clips of these secret places, but no, he used Blender to make these. It's truly remarkable. And when I heard that Kane was making his own Backrooms movie alongside A24, I was all in. I'm like, oh, this film is gonna be great. It's gonna be just one of the best horror films of the year. But did it live up to all that hype? Or should the Backrooms have just stayed a short YouTube series? Well, let's find out. The film is about Clark, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, and he is a failed businessman who owns a furniture store, and he is just at the lowest point of his life. His wife is leaving him, he can't accomplish his dreams about being an architect, he is just at the lowest of the low. And he vents about all of his frustrations to his therapist, played by Renate Reinsve. And after a few strange turns of events, these two characters end up in the Backrooms, and have to find a way out, and survive from what's lurking deep within. So there is a lot to love about this movie. The first one is easily the visuals and cinematography. I'll get to the effects about the Backrooms in a second, but first, I gotta talk about how beautiful this film looks. Not even just the recordings in the Backrooms, but things on the outside world as well. It's like every single shot in this film could be used as a picture for a liminal space. The way how everything is just shot so symmetrical is so eerie and adds to this creepy factor about this world. And when the film gets to all the Backroom stuff, my god, this film looks astonishing. The way how this film is able to use both practical sets and CGI blends together so perfectly. And the way how the Backrooms look is so eerie and creepy. From long distance hallways, to random rooms that just lead to nothing, to rooms that just don't seem like they're built correctly, either they're too big or too small, the lighting from the overhead lights, everything about this film is just beautiful to look at. It really is hard to pinpoint what parts of the set are practical and what parts are CGI. There are a few parts where you're like, okay, clearly that's not a real set there, but my god, there are just so many parts in this film that look astonishing. It's like pretty much just a bigger budget version of Kane's YouTube videos, and it is just so damn impressive the way how this film is able to use all these practical effects. And when you hear some things that are just creaking in the distance, the scare factors just increase. The Backrooms as a whole is such a unique set piece, and this film takes advantage of that all the way. And when you have scenes in the film that go from the Backrooms back to the real world, it's like you're taking a breath of fresh air, like you're out of this creepy environment that's just all stuffy and just unnatural. It's just such a cool aspect of this film to go back and forth between these parts of the world, but at the same time, our real world looks just as creepy in some cases. The visuals here and the cinematography are just absolutely stunning to look at. So obviously this film is going to look beautiful. If you've seen Kane's original YouTube videos, you knew what you were going to get into. But how are the scares? This is a horror movie after all, so I want to be scared, and while the film isn't absolutely just terrifying, there are some absolutely creepy moments in this movie, with one in particular that involves a pile of clothes. For those who've seen this film know exactly what I'm talking about. If you look really closely at one part, ooh, it is so eerie. And that's the thing too, is that most of the scares in this film are just subtle, like little things in the background that you won't notice on your first viewing. And one part in particular that involves a Christmas tree, whew, man, the parts that they use for the practical effects in some of these scenes for the creatures and monsters are just mwah, absolutely terrific. But funny enough, the backrooms and all that stuff isn't even my favorite part about the movie. It's the characters. The characters here are just wonderfully written. I'll start with Clark first. So like I said, he's a failed businessman. He's at the lowest point of his life. And when he gets to the backrooms, for the first time in his life, he feels like he actually has self-control. In a world that makes no sense whatsoever, he feels like he's finally belonging somewhere. And I just love the way how this character is written as well. He just seems like a real regular dude who's struggling like the rest of us, but finally finds this sense of peace. He's just a great character. I love this guy. And then we get to Mary, his therapist. You see, she's one that is always out there trying to help others by being a therapist, but at the same time, she has zero control of her life whatsoever. Everyone's just trying to bug her with their issues because she's a therapist, and she's feeling like she has all this baggage on her that she can never release. She's lonely, she lives alone, she has no one to talk to, and both of these characters are elevated thanks to their great performances. You can tell that these two had a blast working in these weird environments, and Kane did a great job directing these two. Their performances are just stellar, with them reacting with every single scare in this movie. Just really phenomenal performances, and just really elevates the scare factor and just the outer worldness of this movie. And one aspect about this film that people are probably not gonna like, but I thoroughly enjoyed, was the whole mystery of it. Now, the film never fully explains what the Backrooms really is, and there's some mystery about how Mary has maybe some history with the Backrooms, at least when it comes to her mom, and the film never fully just explains any of that. And I love this film for that. You can easily piece things together about kind of what the Backrooms is and what that ending is all about, and things with Mary and her mom. And the film treats the audience in a smart way by not just, jingling keys and fully explaining everything to you. The film actually wants the audience to think, and I love this film for that. Okay, so I've gone on and on about how many great things are in this movie, from the visuals, to the scares, to the characters, to the performances, but there's one aspect of this film that really did disappoint me, unfortunately, and it's kind of a big one, and that is the story. So for the first 2/3 of this film, I was fully engrossed by everything, from the visuals, the scares, the characters. I was enthralled by the mystery. But then one in particular thing happens with Clark's character that really seemed very out of place. It really didn't feel earned at all. And when we get to this one point in the film, it really feels like we're missing like 30 minutes of extra scenes for Clark to get to this point in the story. It really does seem like the film goes from point A to point B to point D, and we're missing point C. Funny enough, it seems like this film is just too short. It seems like it needed to be like 30 minutes longer for Clark to be experiencing some things in the backrooms, for him to become this character at the end, and for the thing that happens to him to feel deserved. And I understand it's probably a budget issue for the film. It is an independent movie after all, and I'm sure Kane did a lot of funding for this film, and you can't have everything you want in your movie. But the main issue is that this turning point for Clark's character is so drastic and is a huge part of the final third of the movie. So the first 2/3 are so solid, and the final third is just so out of place and nonsensical that it just makes the whole story just kind of flatline near the end. And it really bums me out because during the story there were so many highlights with Clark's character, and then we just get to... See, the issue is, I can see where Kane was going with for this character. I understand why he wanted Clark to be like this near the end, but man, it really just seemed like we needed a few more scenes for Clark to naturally progress to this part in the story. Now, that's not to say that the final third of the film is just terrible completely, because there are a lot of great moments with some great visuals and scares, a really fun chase sequence between Mary and this one creature. Some of the best set pieces in the movie are in the final third. It's just that when we get to the final third, it just seems like this huge drastic switch that I just wish there was a few more bits and pieces in the middle of the movie to make the story flow in a much better way. And honestly, this could have been one of my favorite movies of the year if it just had a few more scenes in there to make the story feel complete. Because that's the best way to put it. The story really does feel incomplete. Now the thing is, I can fully understand where Kane was trying to bring this character because I fully understand why Clark is acting like this. It's just that a few scenes were missing to get us to that point. And it doesn't really ruin the whole movie for me, far from it. There are so many great things in this movie. It's just that it could have been almost perfect if it just had a few more scenes to really just complete everything. But as a whole, I think Backrooms is a wonderfully made movie, and it's truly inspiring. This film is making like $50 million its opening weekend, and is directed by a 20-year-old. How can you not be inspired by that? This is going to be a film that is going to inspire so many young directors to make their dream movie, and the fact that the effects in this film were made in Blender, a almost free software, is truly inspiring for all. And it shows that anybody can make their dream movie if they have the right amount of talent and not using AI to make their dream movie. So get out there, create your movies, create your videos, and maybe one day you'll be up there on the big screen. Which is why I'm gonna give Backrooms the gold top hat. To all my fancy friends out there, thank you so much for watching. But if it's your first time here and you like what you've seen, be sure to subscribe for more content. Now, have you seen Backrooms? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below. That'd be a fantastic night. And as always, stay fancy. Have you excused me? I gotta go find the exit. Hello? Hello?